Hello, everyone. I'm Colin Breckles with Castlebreck. Graham?
Hi, I'm Graham Akers with Bragtech Systems in Vancouver. And Heiko, Heiko's having a little audio challenge, so we're also joined by Heiko Voigt from Harbor Light in Halifax.
Yes.
Absolutely. We got an exciting one today. Graham, who are our guests and
Yeah, we're
what are
very
the
happy
topics?
to invite from HCL Technologies, Uffe Sorensen and Richard Jefts. Richard and Uffe have been sharing this presentation with the community, a new base, a new hope, a new beginning, talking about what's happened in the last year and a half since HCL has become part of the family with the collaboration solutions and what the future is going to hold. So I'll turn it over to them quickly to introduce themselves. Uffe.
Hey, Graham, thanks a lot. My name is Uffe Sorensen, and as many of you know, I've been leading the Notes Domino business globally for IBM over the past couple of years. I decided when I could see the huge impact that the HCL investment had by getting into the partnership with us on rebuilding and redriving Notes and Domino, that I wanted to join HCL to drive this forward. So as of February 1st, I'm with HCL. And it is my pleasure to be here with you today, and even more pleasure to introduce my new boss, Richard Jefts, who's the guy running this whole thing for Digital Solutions. Richard, over to you.
Thank you, Uffe, and thank you, Graham, Colin, and Heiko. Appreciate the opportunity here to speak to the broader community. Hello, everyone. My name is Richard Jefts. I'm the General Manager, Vice President of Digital Solutions at HCL. Before we begin, I really first wanted to say that us at HCL, we're really honored and excited about the opportunity ahead of us to carry the torch forward for products that really have become mission critical for thousands of companies out there, and that still drive business outcomes and solutions that are critical to those businesses. So for us, this is an exciting opportunity. We're looking forward to continuing the momentum that we've been able to begin here, but we're also looking forward to wrapping up the deal that we put forth with IBM in the very near future. So with that, I'm going to jump in right into the materials. As Graham mentioned, for us, we've been looking at this from really three approaches. The first one is really all around a new base. And a new base really for us means what are the results that we have been able to achieve over the last 12 to 14 months. We then will spend some time around what is a new hope. And what is that new hope? That new hope for us is really the agreement that we're working on with IBM at this time. And then what is a new beginning? A new beginning. And that is the opportunity ahead for all of us. And that includes our vision, our strategy, and our short-term execution for around our V11 release. So with that, I'm going to give you a little bit of insight into who HCL is. So HCL has been a company that has been around for about 42 years. It has established a revenue pipeline of around $8.2 to $8.5 billion yearly. It's also growing at a pretty effective rate in the mid to high teens on a yearly basis. The company as a whole has almost 130,000 diverse multinational employees across 43 countries. This company, as I mentioned, has been around for quite some time, has been heavily involved in services for many years, and has now made, from a strategy perspective, started to focus on software. And that's where a lot of this agreement that we're working through with IBM has come into place in our broader strategy at HCL. So let's talk about a new base. And let's just first spend a little bit of time focusing on the achievements that we've been able to achieve, not only within HCL, but with IBM during this partnership, but also with many other companies in the broader community. So when we looked at this about 12 to 14 months ago, we started to communicate to the broader community around what were the areas that we wanted to focus on and the areas that you wanted us to focus on based on the jams and the information that we were able to gather before we actually really started to develop the software. And the three major themes for us at that time were all around, first and foremost, app development. And our focus there was, how do we actually make Domino great again? And when we reflected back and thought through what made Domino great, it really was the app dev platform. So what you saw from us in V10 was a focus around modernizing our app dev platform. And that included effort around Node.js, JavaScript, as well as making investments around the user experience. So many of you are aware that recently, within the last 24 hours, we actually released our Domino mobile application out into the Apple Store. And that's been a focus for us as well during the V10 theme, and hearing from you around the focus needed around mobile apps and allowing our customers to have the ability to have access to those apps via their iPad, their Droid device, Chrome device, or even their iPhone or other phones. The other area that we focused on, and the final one for us, was all around TCO. And the core tenets that we have within the organization for TCO is, first, we want to become, and we are fairly established as being very trusted and secure, but also being very fast. We wanted to improve the performance. So as we progressed and we did a little bit of a reflection, one of the things that we really wanted to give the broader community some insight into is, we really started this journey on October of 2017. And that was when we finalized the original IP agreement for the Domino Note Same Time technologies. During that period, we made a commitment to the community, to our customers, to our partners, that we were going to invest. And we did that, and we did it in many different fashions. The first one was the investment in the team. So as you can see here, we were able to grow the team by more than 30% in such a short period of time. Also during that period of time, we were very focused on the product features and enhancements that were required. And we were able to deliver in that year period over 70 net new enhancements. But while balancing velocity and growing at the same time, one of the core tenets that we had as an organization was to ensure that we maintained a very strong quality offer. And you can see here that during this period of change, our CSAT actually went up over 15% as well. And then, as one of the other major core tenets of HCL, one of our main goals, and many of you heard either Uffe or I or others mention this, our goal is to bring our customers and partners closer. We have established a program called Lab Advocacy, where we have over 250 customers and partners as part of that program now. And that actually gives us an opportunity to listen directly to our customers and partners, as well as gives them an opportunity to have visibility and a connection into the brand that is much more seamless and one-on-one for them. So I wanted to just pause here for a second and see if there were any questions from the C3 team.
So Richard, as you mentioned, you already had like the Domino mobile apps thing coming out on the App Store. How big was the struggle now to really get this into the public App Store? I know we've been talking about it in the community. Where will this be presented? Where will this be going? Can you elaborate a little bit on the journey bringing this into the App Store?
Yeah, great question. So look, I think many of you are aware that we have actually had the product available for quite some time. So from an actual technology perspective, DMA, the Domino mobile apps, which is your notes apps running on an iPad, has actually been in beta for around 7 months. So there was some work that we needed to do in partnership with IBM that delayed us. As we've been able to progress through those obstacles over the last couple months, we have been working very closely with Apple. And there was, there was a little bit of effort on our side to get this up into the Apple Store. There are certifications that are required, et cetera. But I think in partnership with IBM, the team's done a really nice job of getting that wrapped up. I'm excited that we can finally get the broader community access, and we can start to get more feedback on what we need to focus on in V11.
Quick question from Graham here. One of the best things that I saw at IBM Think was the demo of the DQL Explorer. And we know that that's available on OpenNTF now for people to download and use. I'm curious if you've had any just anecdotal stories about organizations that have been able to leverage that already.
Yes. So look, I think that for us, Graham, a great question. That I think many of you may know, and you folks surely do, that was almost a bit of a skunkworks initiative, not only within HCL, but within IBM, where the team worked very closely together with the technical sales organization to actually build the DQL Explorer. It's a great example of some other work that we're doing behind the scenes with IBM that we wanted to roll this one out very quickly. But the feedback overall from the partners and customers has been very, very positive. We are thinking of other ways to actually leverage the work that we've done on DQL that'll make it even more seamless for customers to leverage that key data. All right, well, why don't we jump to the next slide, if that's okay? Okay, so when we walk through, and again, back focused on a new base, when we think about version 11, which is our next major release, and as we've committed to the market, we're going to be delivering a major release every single year. We'll have minors and point releases during the year, but our goal is to become very consistent with our major releases. And when we followed up with the community, again, following much of the same practices that we did in V10, leveraging jams, leveraging AHA, leveraging the feedback from the customers and partners, we identified these actually there are three major areas that we're targeting related to Domino. And the first one is, you've heard us loud and clear, we believe that we can be the only offer out there that can go seamlessly from a pro code to mid code to low code offer. And that's where you're going to see us make a lot of focus in V11. Simple example of that is you'll see a lot of improvements within the designer. This is an area, as we've looked at what our competition is doing and where we need to improve, this is the first area that we've identified that we're going to be making some serious investments in. The other one is around the next-gen experience. So we've heard loud and clear from the customer base that our user experience needs to be modernized. We're now looking at releasing the first version of a thin client during the V11 timeframe, and we'll also be heavily investing in our TCO. And when we think of TCO, it's not just the cost of ownership, it's also the simplicity of how to actually deploy, manage, and operate the overall offer. So a couple things just in summary. Again, when we reflect on a new base, the key point here for me when I look at this, gentlemen, is really the 180 plus clients coming back to Domino in Q4. So what that means is in Q4 alone, we had over 180 customers that were still using the products, that were not paying for services and support, but we're still using the product. And that they realized that the investments that we were making, that the momentum that we're having, that it made sense for them to come back. So this is, for me, was one of the telling points that we had over the last quarter. So let's focus on A New Hope, and let's talk about where we're going here. So A New Hope, and when we think about the New Hope, let's talk about the details of the agreement that we have signed with IBM as of December 1st. So I think many of you are aware HCL has agreed to acquire the following products. We've made a significant investment in that of over $1.8 billion. This was the largest acquisition for an Indian-based technology company. And it really reinforces the investment and also the opportunity that our chairman, our board, as well as our CEO believe in these products. And so for us, when we look at it, these are the 6 products that are coming over as part of the divestiture. AppScan, Unica, Commerce, Portal, Notes Domino, and Same Time, and we're also excited to have Connections added as well. So the details on the deal, and again, a new hope. When we thought through this, what does a full divestiture mean? What a full divestiture means is that marketing, sales, support, software assets, branding, and people will all be coming over to HCL. The key thing for us here is, as I mentioned, HCL is a very services-led company, but in the last 3 to 4 years, they've made the investment of focusing much more on software. And that's where this HCL Mode 3 strategy comes into play. And so as part of the Mode 3 strategy, this IP, the IP deals, as well as the divestiture are core to this. This also reinforces the reasons why. The reasons why we've done the deal are also very, very important. So when we think about this, when we think about the timing, right? And this is the question that we're getting from analysts and customers and partners. We are targeting to close this at the end of the second quarter timeframe. Again, this will be a full divestiture, and the teams are working very, very closely together right now on how to make this as seamless as possible. And transparent for our customers and partners as we get closer and closer towards the actual closure of the deal. So again, back to A New Hope, and I'll just mention a couple key things here, right? Is that our ask to you is first and foremost, and our ask of ourselves, by the way, as well, and you'll see this from us, is first and foremost, transparency. You're going to see us be extremely transparent throughout this process. We'll provide communications and updates on a regular basis, and we'll ensure that we are looking at how to approach things in a very different way. The other thing to know is that at this point, the change will be fairly minimal. A lot of the people that you worked with in the past will be part of HCL, the technologies, the branding, some of the processes and tools will be the same. But I think the key thing that I have as my entire organization is we have an opportunity to be different. So the way things were done in the past does not mean that's the way that we should be doing it in the future. And so one of the things we are looking at is how can we become easier to work with than we were in the past. So our ask to you is to think very, very similar where you possibly can and challenge us on how to do things in a different fashion. So let's talk about a new beginning, And then from our view, what this means is HCL and our products in the portfolio has now awakened. So for us, when we think about Domino, Notes, Same Time, and the broader portfolio, it's very interesting. When we think about the products as a whole, what we found as we've done the analysis and spoken with the customers and partners and analysts, one of the things that we found interesting is that across the portfolio, there were really 4 major areas that really needed to be focused on for not only Domino V11, but as well as for Portal, as well as for what many of you would know as Feb, or what is now branded as Leap. And we also think that many of these themes actually align very closely with Connections as well. And so when we think about it, these are the 4 major areas. Modernization. We have to do a better job of modernizing the technologies that not only the products are built on, but also the overall look and feel, and that's where we tie into the overall user experience. The other major area is all about programmability. So when we think about it, we need to do a better job of first and foremost integrating our products together. So I'll give you a good example. Integrating Same Time directly to Connections, having having Domino as the back end for Portal. There are many different opportunities we have where we can bring the products within Digital Solutions together and more integrated, but also becoming more integratable to other technologies, whether it's Microsoft or SAP or Salesforce or ServiceNow. We realize that we need to become much more open. So let's talk a little bit more into the detail here. And again, when you think about the core and you look into that center bubble there, those are the 4 major themes. And when we thought through what does that new beginning need to look like, what are those wows that will actually drive the results that we're looking for, that our partners and customers are looking for? And these are the areas that we've really started to put some investment and time into validating with our customers and partners to ensure that these are the areas we need to be targeting in our next couple releases. So the first one around Notes and Domino, you'll see the modern client. So I talked a bit about the thin client investments that we're making. Low code to pro code. As I mentioned, we believe this is the core part of the Domino Notes platform, and we're making investments there. We've also talked to many around templates and what are the templates from an industry standard or from a segment perspective that we should be building in partnership with partners or others that would actually enable our customers to leverage the product in an outcome-based model. The other areas around use, we have to simplify how we leverage the products, how they install, how they're managed, how they're operated. And that's an area that, again, you'll see more focus around, especially in the TCO and simplification theme that we're targeting. We've got an app store. So we've talked a little bit about this to many of you, but this is an area that you're going to hear more about, especially at Engage, which is up and coming shortly, and at DNUG. You'll see more discussions around workshops and what is an app store and where should we be focusing. And then finally, the APIs. And before we move on, just real quickly, I do want to touch base that we believe SameTime is an application where we have a huge opportunity to become the secure, trusted, teaming, instant messaging application. And so the first foray into that for SameTime is by the end of May, we will have persistent chat available. This is something you've been asking for quite some time. We will also believe that federating is very, very important. So being able to simply go to someone in another organization and have a SameTime discussion with them. Interoperability will be another investment around SameTime. And then you'll see that we're going to continue to invest in SameTime around the security, being the most secure application out there, as well as speed. And then finally on Portal, you can see many of the core tenets and the themes that we'll be targeting. So modernizing the user experience, focusing on Docker and Kubernetes, driving a more simple ease of use on how you manage your content via flight deck. And then finally, the continued focus, which you saw on Notes and Domino, as well as in SameTime, around modernizing and opening our APIs. So one thing that we've heard loud and clear from many of you is technology is one piece of the puzzle, and that we need to do a better job of marketing ourselves, marketing progress, providing, interesting enough, one of the comments we've heard is providing air cover for many of you. So what we've really established here, and you've seen a high-level view of this, is what we're calling our Rolling Thunder communication strategy. And what we're doing here is we're identifying signature moments throughout the year that will drive visibility within the press, within analysts, within our partners, within the market, and within our customers. And throughout that year, we're going to be targeting specific events to drive that, as well as doing blogs, webinars, and really keeping our customers and partners updated on the progress we're making. The other key thing that we're doing here is we want to build up that momentum. We want that momentum to build up for our new beginning for that V11 release. And so you will see as we progress over the next couple months, more transparency around what we're building, less PowerPoint, and more visibility within the press and within analysts. So I did mention earlier around A New Beginning, our HCL client advocacy or lab advocacy program. As you can see here, this is really an opportunity for our customers and partners to actually have direct contact into an engineer within the organization. I know on the slide it says over 177 in total. I can assure you that that's now over 250 based on the meeting I had with my organization earlier this week. And you're going to see more and more focus from us on this. So far, the feedback has been excellent. The feedback from customers and partners that we've been able to actually either solve problems very quickly or give them visibility into things that they didn't even know existed in the product. Again, this is just another example of one of the many ways we are actually trying and attempting to bring our customers closer. So with that, I'm gonna just maybe wrap up real quickly, but I think, in summary, we believe that what you're seeing right now is a connected world, and not all applications in your business play nice. So we're on a mission to build a connected world that actually not only allows all your applications to play nicely, but actually allows you to drive the business results and the outcomes that you're targeting as well. So I'm going to pause here. I'll open it up to the broader team. Again, Graham, Heiko, and Colin, I thank you for the opportunity to speak to the broader organization, and look forward to any questions.
Okay, I'll start with the question. I've got a customer who is currently evaluating their 901 Feature Pack 10 and sitting back and saying, okay, so enough time has gone by that we need to really consider what's going on with V10 and have a serious plan for testing and stuff. So we're actually getting working on that. But of course, it involves, I think lots of customers are at that point, and everybody's having to sit back and evaluate what they use Domino for. So in my particular case, it's mail and apps. And I'm really positive about the comments that you had about integration. So talking to other platforms, Microsoft, Salesforce, what have you. But then, focusing internally on, okay, what are the nitty-gritty details? And I know that there was a whole lot of interest, for example, in X Pages as part of that conversation, because lots and lots of customers are invested in X Pages. So not to just single that out, but in terms of sort of getting to that point where we're sitting back and saying, okay, what are all of the things that we need to consider? Certainly there are lots of positives with respect to TCO and whatnot. But I'm just curious about, now that we're on the other side of V10, what your reflections are on where there's ease of moving forward, where there's other things that people are still struggling with, and kind of bridging that gap as we go forward to getting our customers up to V10.
Yeah, so first, Graham, happy to hear that you have a customer that's looking at V10. So definitely excited about that. And second, I appreciate you giving me a softball question for the first one, but not really. That's okay. That's what we're here for, right? So look, I think for us, there are a couple areas that are part of the portfolio today that are still critical and important to us. I'll give you a good X Pages as an example, right? Is an area where we have customers that have hundreds of thousands of applications that were built leveraging X Pages. We have partners who invested in their practices around X Pages. And as we mentioned in our the webinar that Andrew Mamby and I did probably about 6 weeks ago or longer at this point, there will still be investment into X Pages, and that investment we are working through for V11. We've got some key areas that we have targeted already, and the team is already working on. With that said, I think it's really important for the community to realize, and I'm sure many of you do, is that one of the things that we have to do a really good job around is balancing the investments in the applications that got us to where we are today, as well as the applications that are going to get us to where this new beginning that we've talked about that we'll be focusing on. This is something that many companies struggle with, right? And they struggle with, how to invest in the past and maintain the past while you're actually still investing in the future. Not an easy thing to do.
No.
But what I think for, kind of your question, Graham, and the focus there is that, specifically around X pages, I can assure you that we acknowledge that that technology is important. As I went through and talked earlier around low code to mid code to pro code, when we think about that pro code area, you're still going to have applications that will be built via X pages. So investment will continue there. But as I also noted during the presentation, we will be transparent as we were in the webinar around where we're going to be putting our bets.
Yeah.
And so more to come on that.
Customer looking at V10. Sorry, more than one customer looking at V10, by the way.
Good. Well, I'm happy to hear that as well. Thanks, Graham. Thank you.
And I had a quick comment to what Richard said, because part of the X pages environment is all question of Java. And remember that a huge part of the product portfolio work with is actually written in Java and executing in Java. IBM fell behind for a while in making sure we were at the appropriate levels. I'm not saying that we're continuing to make sure we're on the latest and greatest, but we will certainly not fall behind as IBM did. And we're dependent on Java as everybody else is. Where we're interesting ourselves here and what we are focusing more on is like the APIs around it, how we make sure that we transform as fast as we can to appropriate set of REST APIs that allow people to take advantage of the services in like Domino and use that in their own applications using a modern API structure.
Thanks.
So Uffe, that's exciting to hear that HCL is committed to keeping up a little bit more closely with Java version releases. And related to that, customers are asking us about if in keeping up with Java versions, we'll see more Java container support, as one would see with standalone Java app servers or web containers. Just wondering if there's been any early discussions about supporting the later servlet specs and other aspects of what Java app servers of up-to-date versions support within Domino itself.
Lots of discussions, yes, and there's no clear conclusion on what we're doing here, and you can also ask the question of Java 11 and other things, and it's all under debate, and as Richard said much earlier, we are trying to do as much as we can in balancing budgets and needs and requirements. It's understood that there is a strong need for a Java base to continue to be able to drive that coding forward and use the most optimal technologies to actually do that. Yes, we are looking at it. I will not commit to going beyond what we have right now, but it's clearly something that we are looking at.
Okay, thank you.
When I look at the future development of your client strategy, there has been talks about or moving the parts that we see with IDMA now in the first incarnation up into web components and all those kind of things. Is that the future direction that we will see from your end regarding also things like portal integration? So you're making like the Notes application development part a more lightweight, going back to its roots more or less, but more integrated into the web integrational part. Is that the intention that you're having?
It is. So I think the answer there is, first off, we are looking at what do we do around within the thin client as well as around just the overall web stack as a whole. But the key area that I think we believe that is important for us around Notes applications is really around the designer and making investments there around having the ability to move towards more of drag and drop canvas-based designer that allows you not only to build pro code and complex apps, but as well as much more simple applications. The key for us is that we realize that we need to maintain a bridge between our existing designer, because we have customers and partners out there who frankly still want to use them. And so that will be part of the discussion that we are having. But the thought process that we have at this point is the designer is going to be a key area that we'll make around the Notes app side, but while also maintaining the investments that we have in place today, specifically with the existing designer. Is that a decent answer for you guys, or, I mean, it's in line.
What I would be interested in a little bit more is, if you look at all this componentization on the client, is your intent like to have, with the future-rich client development, or the future thin client developments that you're doing, is this something that you're also looking at from an integration perspective into the portal arena, for example, or into the connections arena?
Yeah.
So how can I bring in components into these containers that have been lacking functionality? So I'll build a quick app in Notes with the new designer and just drag it in as a component in portal into connections or whatever. Is that a future direction we might see as well with this core technology?
100%. So you know, as we've been working through the overall integration of the portfolio itself, we see lots of opportunity from not only the building of applications and then having the ability to leverage those within Portal as a simple example, but also how do we actually integrate all of these products to be much more seamless? And that means from a security perspective where we need to be standardized on OAuth as an example. From an admin perspective, as an admin, if I'm working on one product, it should have a similar feel and experience across the broader portfolio. The other thing that we've been hearing a lot about as well is what could we actually, just from a kind of art of the possible within the portfolio, what can we actually integrate within connections? So simple example of that is when I'm in a connections community, I may want the ability to actually chat with somebody and not have to go and open up another application like Same Time or you know, WebEx or WeChat or something like that. But within that experience, I should be able to initiate a chat, a persistent chat, even an email as a simple example. So we see lots of opportunities, Heiko, where we can actually integrate not only from an application perspective, but a broader perspective within the products. And that also includes the Leap product too, that does some, what I would call some simple low code development from a forms perspective.
Okay, awesome.
In that context, it's also important to note that having that level of integration also changed the type of technology that you have sitting on the desktop. And we're looking very much at you know, WebAssembly as a way of delivering a user experience so that we can have a slightly different technology to support sort of a thin client environment and still delivering all this functionality when needed to the users. That will, of course, change how many things are done. We'll still do a Notes client as it is because there's so many people dependent on it, and it will have the capabilities that we all know and love. But we also need to build an additional set of capabilities that Richard talked about functionally, and looking very much at WebAssembly as the technology to do it. This is not version 11. This is like beyond version 11, but we are, of course, looking at it.
Okay. Thanks, Uffe. That's great news.
All right, guys, thank you very much for your time. Just we'll wrap it up here quickly, but just on behalf of the Yellow community, very much thanking you for your time and sharing the story with us today. And we know, for example, Engage coming up and DNUG, of course, and then Icon UK and Collabsphere in the fall. The message is going to continue, so just look forward to keeping that open dialogue. But thank you again very much for your time.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. And to everybody watching, thanks for your time spending with us today. And take a moment to like, comment, subscribe, click the bell icon so you're notified when new content is released from the C3UG. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.